Two people want to lose the fat wrapped around their organs. One hits the gym 4 times a week. The other just eats less. Which one actually wins? That question sounds simple, but for decades doctors have answered it the same way. Do both diet and exercise, as if they were interchangeable tools. A massive new comparison of 40 clinical trials suggests that answer might be wrong. But before we get into what it found, let's talk about the fat itself, because not all body fat is the same. Some of it is far more dangerous than the rest. There is the fat you can pinch under your skin, on your arms, thighs, or stomach. Doctors call that subcutaneous fat. While nobody loves having extra of it, it is not the main threat to your health. Then there is visceral fat, the kind packed deep inside your abdomen, wrapped around your liver, intestines, and other organs. You cannot see it or pinch it, but it is metabolically active, releasing inflammatory compounds directly into your bloodstream. Visceral fat has been linked to heart disease, stroke, type 2 diabetes, certain cancers, and a long list of other chronic conditions. Some researchers now consider it a more accurate warning sign than body weight, or even BMI. Here's something that surprises a lot of people. 2 adults can have the exact same body mass index and completely different amounts of visceral fat. It all depends on where their bodies tend to store it. That is a big reason doctors have started paying more attention to waist size and internal fat scans, instead of just the number on a bathroom scale. So if visceral fat is the real danger, the next question becomes obvious. What actually gets rid of it? For most of modern medical history, the answer has been a package deal. Eat less, move more. Obesity guidelines from major health organizations around the world recommend both strategies together, almost as a single unit. And globally, this is not a small problem. The World Health Organization estimates that around 39% of adults worldwide are overweight, and 13% are classified as obese. Have you ever tried to lose weight and wondered whether you were wasting time in the gym when you could just be more careful with your fork instead? You are not alone in that question. It turns out that exercise and caloric restriction do very different things to your body, even when they produce the exact same number on the scale. When you cut calories, your body loses weight from 2 sources at once, fat and muscle. It cannot always tell the difference between fuel it needs to burn and tissue it should protect. Exercise works differently. Physical activity, especially resistance and cardio training, tends to preserve muscle mass while still burning fat. Your body treats trained muscle as valuable and worth keeping around. That distinction matters more than most people realize, because muscle is not just for looking strong. It plays a direct role in regulating how many calories your body burns, even while you are sitting still. So losing muscle along with fat can actually make long-term weight management harder, not easier, by quietly lowering your metabolism. This is where the classic phrase comes in, the one you have probably heard a personal trainer say: you cannot outrun a bad diet. It is popular advice, but is it actually backed by evidence when it comes to the fat that matters most? To find out, researchers needed something more precise than bathroom scales or tape measures. They needed to look directly inside the body. CT scans and MRI machines can do exactly that, producing detailed images that show precisely how much fat is sitting around your internal organs. A team of researchers from the University of Hong Kong and the Chinese University of Hong Kong set out to settle the exercise versus diet debate, at least for visceral fat specifically. They did not look at just 1 or 2 studies. They combined data from 40 separate randomized controlled trials, the gold standard for testing whether a treatment truly causes an effect. Altogether, those trials included 2,190 adults with overweight or obesity, from studies conducted across the United States, Asia, and Europe. Every single participant had their visceral fat measured directly with a CT or MRI scan, both before and after their diet or exercise program. Here's a question worth sitting with for a second. If two people burn the exact same number of calories in a week, one through jogging and one through skipping dessert, should their bodies respond identically? Common sense might say yes. A calorie deficit is a calorie deficit, regardless of where it comes from. But the human body does not always follow common sense. Researchers call this idea-dose response. In simple terms, if a treatment works the way we expect, doing more of it should produce more of the benefit. More exercise should mean more fat loss. More calorie cutting should mean the same. That is exactly the question this research team set out to answer for visceral fat, and the results were not what a lot of people expected. All right, let's get into what they actually found, because the numbers tell a pretty clear story. Both strategies worked. Exercise reduced visceral fat compared to non-exercising control groups, and so did caloric restriction on its own. In fact, on paper, caloric restriction looked like the stronger tool. Its effect on visceral fat came out to -0, 53 compared to -0, 28 for exercise. Bigger negative numbers mean a bigger reduction. But then the researchers checked for that dose-response pattern, whether doing more of each strategy produced proportionally more benefit. For exercise, the pattern was there. Every additional 1,000 calories burned per week through physical activity was linked to a further drop in visceral fat, an effect that was statistically significant. For caloric restriction, that pattern simply was not there. Cutting more calories did not reliably shrink more visceral fat. The effect size was just 0.03, essentially 0, and it was not statistically significant. In other words, exercising harder kept paying off. Dieting harder, at least in this dataset, did not show the same payoff for this specific type of fat. The researchers pushed the comparison even further, directly pitting the two strategies against each other while controlling for the exact same weekly energy deficit. Whether that deficit came from burning more or eating less, exercise still came out ahead with a clear advantage. Interestingly, waist circumference told a slightly different story. Both exercise and caloric restriction produced dose-dependent reductions in waist size. Caloric restriction trimmed an average of 4, 67 centimeters, and exercise trimmed 3, 15 centimeters. That is an important reminder. Visceral fat and waist size are related, but they are not perfectly interchangeable measurements. Your belt size does not always tell the full internal story. So why would exercise have this advantage specifically for the fat wrapped around your organs? The study authors point to a likely explanation. Exercise appears to burn fat while helping preserve muscle mass. Caloric restriction, on the other hand, tends to reduce fat and muscle at the same time. That may blunt its long-term effect on the most dangerous kind of fat. There is also a lot of individual variation in how people's metabolism adapts to a low-calorie diet. Some bodies compensate more aggressively than others, which could weaken the connection between how much you cut and how much fat you actually lose. The researchers are upfront about the limitations here too. There was simply more data available for exercise, 46 comparisons across 26 studies, compared to just 16 comparisons from 15 caloric restriction studies. That imbalance means the lack of a dose response for dieting could partly reflect a smaller, less statistically powerful dataset, rather than proof that calorie cutting truly has no dose-dependent effect at all. Most of the included trials also carried a moderate risk of bias, mostly related to participant dropout and blinding issues. The researchers rate their overall confidence in these findings as moderate, not absolute certainty. None of this means dieting is pointless. caloric restriction still meaningfully reduced visceral fat on its own. It just did not show a clear pattern where cutting more calories reliably produced more benefit, at least not in this analysis. So what is the practical takeaway? If your specific goal is reducing the visceral fat around your organs, the kind most strongly tied to heart disease and diabetes, adding more exercise volume looks like the more reliable lever to pull. That does not mean you should throw out your diet plan. It means that extra rep, extra set, or extra walk might be doing more for your internal organs than an extra skipped meal ever could. This video is based on the peer-reviewed study, Dose Response Effects of Exercise and Caloric Restriction on Visceral Adiposity in Overweight and Obese Adults, published in the British Journal of Sports Medicine in 2023 by Francesco Recchia and colleagues at the University of Hong Kong.